Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Trevor. Good to see you again.
Now, congratulations. I gather you're going to leave us in Westminster because you've got a seat in Holyrood. John Swinney said that you'd want a referendum on independence if you got an SNP majority. You don't have an SNP majority, but you do have a pro-independence majority in the Parliament. Are you going to demand a fresh referendum?
I think it's perfectly reasonable based upon the result of the election, where, as you've quite rightly highlighted, we now have more pro-independence MSPs coming into Holyrood than ever before, to make clear to Westminster that the people of Scotland should have the chance and the opportunity to decide their own future, to look at broken Brexit Britain or look at a hopeful, aspirational independent Scotland which can grow its economy, use its energy wealth to the benefit of the people who live here and be a prosperous place for our young people. And you know, it's not just in Scotland where that is very much on the table. I was listening to Reen, who's the likely incoming First Minister in Wales. We're obviously aware of the fact that Michelle O'Neill is the First Minister in Northern Ireland too. The constitutional landscape within the UK has been shattered, and it's time for Westminster to wake up to the reality that they now face.
OK, so what I'm hearing there is that you are actually going to call for an independence referendum. And are you going to be encouraging your peers in Cardiff and in Belfast also to call for separatist referendums so that you become essentially the leaders of movement to break up the United Kingdom?
Separatist is such a negative word, Trevor. We're nationalists who believe in a prosperous, welcoming, independent Scotland. And I'm sure that
Goodness me.
I know. I'm sure your viewers will be shocked, Trevor. No, look, it's for the people of Wales to determine their future. It's for the people of the north of Ireland to determine their future. And it's for the people of Scotland to determine their future. And as you've highlighted, there is a high number of independents supporting MSPs in Holyrood now, a record-breaking number of independents supporting MSPs in Holyrood. And I think it's only right that Whitehall wakes up to that reality. But if I may also just reflect upon the fact that for very many months, people were saying that the SNP were not going to achieve a victory, and when in actual fact, we have achieved a landslide. When John Swinney took over as the First Minister of Scotland, we were projected to get 35 seats within the Parliament. We got 38% of the vote, far in excess of anything that Keir Starmer achieved at the last general election. That's testament to the leadership of John Swinney. The public have put their trust in him, they've put their trust in us. It's now time that Westminster put their trust in the people of Scotland to allow them to decide their own constitutional future.
Can I just ask you, in a sense, a procedural question, are you going to rule as a minority administration, or are you going to aim to create a formal coalition? I mean, if you did so with Labour, you would have an automatic majority. You'd have to bring the Lib Dems and Greens to have a majority with them. But what are you going to do?
Well, that will be for the First Minister to determine. I think you'll have noted that yesterday he made clear that he's going to invite all political leaders into Bute House for a conversation with him, all bar, of course, the Reform Party, because we will have nothing to do with Nigel Farage's toxic populist hard-right politics. But all those other parties will be invited in for discussion to see if we can find common ground, and then I'm sure on the back of those discussions the First Minister will be able to set out what his intentions are to the people of Scotland, and it's absolutely right that John has the ability to do that.
This is a matter of interest. Many Scots voted for Nigel Farage's party, and you've just described it in, let's call it, disobliging ways. Is that how a democracy should work, that some people, a party that has been, that represents a significant section of the Scottish people, is treated as a leper?
In fairness, I think all I've done there is be absolutely accurate in describing the Reform Party as hard right and populist. Now,
I know, look, you'll have to deal with the libels, but I'm just asking: is it reasonable to say to that section of Scottish society that, whether you think it's right or not, voted for Mr. Farage's party, that they are basically shut out of the possibility of wielding influence in Scotland's government?
Yes, because more people voted for the Scottish National Party than did for Nigel Farage's party. Thank goodness for that. And as such, we will be able to be the ones who set the direction within the Scottish Parliament itself. But if I may, in relation to reform, there are people who voted for reform who have repugnant views. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But there is another group of people who voted for reform because they're angry. They're understandably angry about the fact that society hasn't been working in the way that they want it to. There hasn't been economic growth, there hasn't been opportunity, and many of the things that they rely upon in day-to-day life haven't worked in the way that they want. And you know, it's my job and it's everyone else's job in Parliament not to chastise those people, but to win those people back into the centre ground of Scottish politics, where they understand that politicians are working for them and they don't feel or see the appeal of the populist hard right that Nigel Farage promotes.
Stephen Flynn, once again, congratulations and thank you so much for your time this morning.